What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining Around the Octagon UFC 305 edition. Again, we have a full house. Luckily, Luke was able to make it. We're all pumped that Luke was able to make it. Busy work schedule, but he cares too much about the UFC and Around the Octagon to miss it. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing great, man. I am pumped up that Luke is here to talk some fights with us. I'll tell you that.
Fantastic.
Yep, been a long work week, but at least for 2 hours or an hour, you can unplug, forget about work, and go back to it.
Talk some fights,
refresh
the brain a little bit. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, dude. We love talking fights. All right, a little bit of fight news, not a ton. I don't know if you guys have seen the tweets going back and forth. Dana White said in the press conference that Conor is not going to fight this year, and Conor goes on Twitter, Dana, December's the date. I want to fight in December, end the year with a bang. What do you guys think? Is Conor going to fight in December? It almost seems like if Conor wants it, he's going to get it. But I don't know. Dana White said not. You might have plans for someone else fighting big in December. Don't know who it could be right now, but your guys' thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. You can go.
Yeah, sorry. Very well could be fighting in December, but then again, I think like historically those January pay-per-views are like pretty shit. Last Strickland, Du Plessis, decent card, but not all that there. Year before that, it was that one in Brazil where you had Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira fighting for the vacant belt. Once again, like another pretty boring card with like not a lot of real superstar names. So I feel like maybe fights in December if they can't throw anything together, but if not, save them for that first pay-per-view to kick off 2025 with the bang.
Is that a little trend they have going on, doing that first fight of the year outside of the United States? I mean, I don't know what it was 3 years ago, but back-to-back years, I know that's a coincidence. But, I mean, obviously, I don't think you could have plans for anyone bigger than Conor. I just honestly can't really envision Conor in the octagon right now. It's like it's hard to after being teased by the guy for over a year. Like, I just won't believe it until he actually steps foot in the octagon. And I don't know. It probably happens sometime next year, but I just feel bad for Chandler at this point.
Is he even going to fight Chandler? That's another
question. That's the thing. If you're Chandler, like at what point do you – I mean, you've already given a couple years of your career waiting for this fight. At what point do you move on? Do you ever move on? Like, I don't know. It's just a bizarre situation.
Yeah, I think at this point it's kind of weird saying, but I feel bad for Chandler. Not a huge fan of him. I kind of bet against him in every fight he's been in. But definitely feel bad for the guy. What?
That's my guy.
Well, made money off of him with DP and Oliveira, and then again with Gaethje. So, pretty hot if you're betting against him.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just not happy about it.
At the same time, I do feel bad for him. Word around, the UFC is that he's a good guy. He does a lot of like philanthropy and stuff like that. So for him to, sit out on all this money and, this fame, and really it's eliminating his chance for fighting for a title. He's getting up there in age. So I feel bad for him. You never know, though. I know now for the first full fiscal year, this will be, TKO with WWE and UFC. So they might want to, spike those end of year, quarterly financials. So we'll see. They might put that card in the end of December. We'll never know. But I would love to see it in December. Like you guys said, I doubt it's happening. I will say, though, we didn't touch on it. Conor did say he's heading up to Elevation to train. So, he might, fib a lot, but that'd be pretty sick.
He does fib a lot. So is it slated for like Utah or something? Like, what do we know where they're aiming for December? No idea, right?
No, not yet. No.
But Conor's saying Elevation, though. He must have an idea.
Conor says that, but at the same time, he also tweets that the only place he wants to fight is Vegas. Fight capital of the world. Give it back to the T-Mobile Arena.
I mean, obviously, Conor's not known for his gas tank either, so training at Elevation can't hurt the guy. I mean, kind of a little surprised he hasn't done that before.
I know Yair goes to like some temple in Mexico or somewhere in South America, and he trains at Elevation for every fight. So it might just be a technique. Who knows? But
yeah, absolutely. Mokaev released by the UFC. A lot of drama going on right now because he is undefeated. He might be back in Brave CF, which is where he fought prior to the UFC. Posted a picture with some gloves on. Your guys' thoughts on Mokaev being released? Apparently, it's a lot of behind-the-scenes antics that caused the UFC to let him go, but he's a legitimate contender. So, I don't know. It seems like an interesting decision.
Yeah, I mean, this again is just another bizarre situation, obviously in a different way than Conor, but you see a guy like that skilled, that young, look at his record, and for the UFC to let go, I mean, I think it's been kind of told that he's just a bad business partner. Then obviously he had the thing where he just sucker punched Cape, and that was probably the nail in the coffin for him. I mean, pulling down his pants during the fight probably didn't help his case either, and like not doing anything in that fight that really drew people to be like a fan of him. So it's not like he did himself any favors. But I mean, I think he will find his way back into the UFC in a few years once he matures a bit. I don't know. Dana seems like the kind of dude that would hold grudges, so maybe not. But I don't know. Brave would be a nice promotion for him to go back there. It's a solid promotion, get some more wins under his belt, mature a little bit, and we'll see what happens in a couple of years.
Nice. Yeah, Zach, I like the maturity aspect on that. I think people forget that he's only 23, 24 years old. So in terms of longevity, he does have a hell of a long career ahead of him, most likely. And I think it just comes down to the fact that he probably does just have to grow up. Steve Erceg said it in an interview, like when he fought on the same card as him, Mokaev is just like being a dick to all the UFC staff, all the UFC PI, the nutritionist, whoever was like there to try to help him get through fight week and make that weight cut and what have you. Mokaev was just like an absolute scumbag. Lord Cape out during fight week for a picture to make amends on their beef. Took a picture, then sucker punched him in the back of the head, jumped him with his team. Like as the president of an organization, when you see that as Dana White, all you see really are just red flags and liabilities for a guy that like doesn't want to be controlled, that you have no control over his actions outside of the octagon. So I think this is just going to be a good lesson for Mokaev moving forward. UFC, maybe he finds his way back there in 3-4 years, which then he'll still only be 27, 28 years old, so relatively young. Or the only other big promotion that does have a flyweight division is ONE FC. So maybe they take him, he can make a name for himself over there.
Yeah, I just think that it's one of those things probably at the end of his career he really regrets. Obviously, he's young and immature, but you should surround yourself with team and people in your corner who, have been there and act like they've been there. He has the best chance of, competing for that title really in that weight class. I know there's some big names at the top like Erceg, like you mentioned, but undefeated, 24 years old, doesn't really get much better than that. Would have been one of the youngest champs if he were to fight and win the belt. It's just a complete shot in the leg for him. I know you guys are saying Brave CF is reputable, but like let's not act like he's getting demoted from the MLB to single A right now. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things that I doubt he gets back. Like you said, Dana has a pretty good track record of staying with what he says. So if it's true, I know he said he'll fight without any pay.
Yeah, for free.
You kind of see that regret setting in. It's just one of those. It kind of sucks as a fan because he is so talented, but at the same time, it's a money making business. People don't like him. People don't like the way he fights, regardless that he wins so much. So I really do think it's a see you never kind of deal right here.
Yeah, I mean, even him saying I'll fight for free, and Dana didn't even seem interested in that. So yeah. I don't know. Dana gets a lot of heat for paying his fighters. If he takes him back because he's fighting for free, it doesn't really bolster Dana's stock either. So, all right, guys, let's get into the fight card, UFC 305. I'm really excited for this one. I know you guys are. I think it's a pretty awesome card. A lot of Aussies on the card. Obviously, it's being fought in Perth, Australia. We'll start with Stuart Nichol, minus 220 favorite versus Jesus Aguilar at plus 180 in the flyweight division. Nichol is his first fight in the UFC, but he does have an 8-0 pro record. His last 4 wins via knockouts. Aguilar is 3-1 in the UFC, has a win via decision, knockout, and submission. Your thoughts on this one, Zach? Are you going with the favorite Nichol?
Yeah, I'm going to ride with Nichol on this one. I like Nichol being the undefeated fighter, fighting in front of his home crowd. I feel like that always plays a factor. I mean, you could say it goes both ways with nerves and whatnot. Like some people like to make that argument, but at the end of the day, I mean, just based off of watching fights for years, you could tell like in a lot of these cards, the guys fighting in their home countries tend to get favorable matchups and they tend to do well. So I think that bodes well for Stuart. He's also, I mean, he has a well-rounded game, and I do think he'll be able to close the distance in this one. And he has some power, so I think he'll be able to utilize his striking, utilize his power, get in distance, and connect one and end up finishing this one inside the distance.
Nah, Zach. I mean, I think I agree with you, but I also think that the odds. I don't know if I agree with the odds on this fight, just because Jesus Aguilar has that UFC pedigree. I think he's 2-1 in the UFC so far. His one loss coming to Tatsuro Taira, who is no joke. He's number 5 ranked flyweight now. Speaking of power, Jesus Aguilar knocked out Shannon Ross, his opponent, 2 opponents ago, in 17 seconds with a brutal overhand right. So, I mean, that power he carries over. And I guess it just comes down to Stuart Nichol being able to implement his own game plan and trying to bridge the line between striking and grappling. But Jesus Aguilar is one of those guys that could just catch you with one shot and that's it. You're dead.
Yeah, I agree with everything said. I think when you look at guys, their first fight, it's always so tough to gauge. And I think that's kind of the deal here. Being the first fight on the card, I know we normally stay away from, women's MMA first fight on cards. I think this is a stay away from fight 2. I'm actually going to pick Aguilar. Shannon Ross, right? He knocked him out. That was so brutal. So much power for that weight class. And like you said, he's been in the UFC for a little bit. We watch more UFC events, I weigh that so much higher. It's how many times do we see guys come in, they're highly touted recruits or highly touted prospects, and they just get beat by someone that's less capable than them, just with a little bit more UFC experience. Being in the octagon in front of those lights really pays dividends. So I'm riding Aguilar here as the underdog.
Yeah, Luke, I definitely agree with your point where it seems like there's butterflies. You're nervous fighting the UFC. It's the most prominent organization in the world. So I think it definitely has an effect on most guys. And Nichol, there's a reason he's this big of a favorite. It's because of what he's done in the past. But you're right. I mean, Aguilar does have the experience in the UFC. And also, I think Aguilar's a little bit better on the ground here. But Nichol does have a pretty significant size advantage. I think he does have more power in his hands. Although, I mean, Ryan highlighted Aguilar with that brutal knockout. So I'm a little skeptical of this one. It's also one that I don't want to put my own hard-earned money on. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Nichol. I do think he gets a knockout in the second round to get it done, but not super confident in this one that I'm personally going to stay away from. Moving on, Song Kenan, -235 versus Ricky Glenn, +190 in the welterweight division. Kenan is 5-4 in the UFC, has lost 3 of his last 4, including a knockout loss to Ian Gary a few fights ago. Glenn is 4-5-1 in the UFC, has lost 2 in a row. The last fight was also a knockout loss to Drew Dober. So these guys have fought some pretty good competition, but neither one is necessarily in form, and neither one really has a good record in the UFC. I still like Kenan at -235 personally. Does anyone want to dabble with Ricky Glenn at +190?
I honestly just don't really want to bet this one, to be honest. This is another stay away from me. I was seeing Kenan at -180 when I was looking earlier. So that line isn't terrible. This one will end up being a striking battle, but I am leaning Kenan just because he's a former middleweight, and Glenn used to fight at featherweight earlier in his career. So he moved up from featherweight to lightweight, and now he's here at welterweight. So, I mean, you got the guy who used to be a middleweight fighting a featherweight. That kind of seals it for me. And I'm pretty sure Glenn's taking this fight on short notice too, no?
Yeah, yep.
So, I mean, the guy moving up weight on short notice, making his welterweight debut. Just hearing all that, I got to ride with Kenan on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Zach. I think Kenan holds the really big striking advantage in this one, and I see him getting it done within rounds 1 or 2 by KO or TKO. I think Song Kenan almost shocked the world. People forget he dropped Ian Gary with a slick left. And I remember watching that fight, betting Ian Gary as a -450 favorite. And it's one of those ones where you put your hands on your head. You're just like,
oh, no.
You're
like, not how it ends.
You're like, get up. It's one of it's one of those. And I think
you're okay.
Yeah. Walk it off. But I think if Song Kenan can do that to as good of a striker as Ian Gary, he could much easily do it to Ricky Glenn, and I see him catching Ricky Glenn within like the end of the first or the second round, or within the second round, and just putting him away.
Yeah, I think you guys really hit on it every aspect of this. I think really the Ian Gary fight is why I'm going Keon. Like, he looked good in that fight until he kind of just like let the spotlight overcome him. Like you said, short notice fighters never really pan out well. We see it at the highest level, even with, champs or former champs going up and fighting guys on short notice with, the likes of Volkanovski or Kamaru Usman. Like, it never really works out. So I'm going with Song here. I think he gets it done within the distance.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also going with Song within the distance here. I didn't know this, so I started digging into this fight, but Ricky Glenn's actually a plumber and then trains on the side to fight in the UFC, which is pretty impressive. But then again, he also has a losing record in the UFC, and I just will never put my money on someone who's got a losing record in the organization that has had 10 fights. So for me, I think Song is definitely the better overall fighter, is a better striker, and Glenn being a plumber kind of sold it for me. So I'm gonna go with Song on this one.
That's a devious hobby to have on the side.
It's kind of crazy, like being a plumber. Like, you think like most of the guys who are like, I don't know, like lower prelim guys, like might need a second job in order to like sustain themselves and whatnot. But like being a plumber is like a full-time trade where you make like legit money. It's like,
yeah,
I think it's just like an interesting like thing. You'd think maybe, I don't know, you'd be a barber or something. Like, I feel like that would be more common. And then a plumber, like, geez,
yeah,
where he just gets asked like, "Oh, what do you do for fun?" It's like, "Oh, tune into ESPN Plus on August 17th."
Yeah, we're like, "Oh, our side hustle is having a UFC podcast," and his is like, "No, I fight in the UFC."
Yeah, dude, he's a jack of all trades. Damn.
That is crazy. That is crazy. All right. Biggest favorite on the card, Tom Nolan, minus 1150 versus Alex Reyes at plus 650 in the lightweight division. Nolan is 2-1. All three fights have ended via knockout. So 2 wins, 1 loss via knockout. Reyes is 0-2 with both losses via knockout. Reyes is also 37 years old, so the elder in this fight by a decent margin. Is anyone taking the old man at plus 650?
No, I think the odds just speak for themselves here. You can't really bet like minus 1100, but I mean, maybe you take Nolan inside the distance.
Amanda Nunes, PTSD.
Yeah, like maybe like you can't even do it to boost a parlay at those odds. It's just like, I don't know, like come on, man, you can't be that greedy. But I mean, again, the odds speak for themselves. Maybe you take Nolan inside the distance or Nolan via KO. I'm not sure what those odds are, but I'm taking the big favorite fighting in front of his home crowd any day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on this podcast before, where you just throw a young up-and-coming prospect from said country fighting in his home country. And I think the UFC is just giving Tom Nolan a layup here, like maybe start building a name for himself in Australia, because he is only 24 years old, 2-1 in the UFC, but a lot of room for potential. And this is just one of the ones where you throw him a fight that jumpstarts his career, and hopefully he can take advantage of that moment.
You know what I find interesting is like the odds. I know like back when Bo Nichol was on the Dana White Contender Series, or it might have been in his like UFC debut, actually, he was like a minus 13 or 1400, and it was like the biggest favorite in UFC history. Now I feel like we're seeing odds like that more often in a lot of these like kind of fights, like you were talking about, Ryan, like we throw those big up and coming prospects in front of their home countries. Like for some reason recently, I feel like I'm seeing more and more of these like really lopsided odds than I feel like I used to.
No, I think I agree with you there. Yeah, definitely a lot more minus 400, 500 favorites that you just wouldn't think would be in that caliber, considering their background. But then again, I mean, Bo Nichol came into the UFC at what, only 5-0. I mean, that, still a highly ranked prospect out of the U.S., best collegiate wrestler of all time, but it's the same deal. He's only had, Bo Nichol is what, like 8-0, 9-0 now. Like still a very young career.
Your thoughts, Luke?
Yep, I think you guys hit on it. There's not really much to say here. Odds forever in the guy's favor. I'm taking him by win. Not going to play in any parlay pieces other than my 12-leg pick every fight parlay.
The classic.
Yep.
And this is the one that's going to smack too.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. We don't even know it yet, but that's the one that's going to smack. Yeah, no one's going to win this fight. If you want to get frisky and put him in your parlay via knockout, like, go ahead. I personally will not touch this one. This is when I'm going to, go to the bathroom, get another drink for me personally. Jack Jenkins, -650 versus Herbert Burns at +425 in the featherweight division. Jenkins is 3-1 in the UFC, coming off a knockout loss. Burns is 3-3 in the UFC on a 3-fight losing streak, and all are via the knockout. Burns, the grappler. Jenkins, the striker. The classic matchup. Zach, are you taking the grappler at +425?
Dude, I love my grapplers, but I mean, again, these odds are just lopsided. And I think they're lopsided for good reason. Jenkins has some pop to his hands. Jenkins can strike. Herbert's chin, I mean, you've seen 3 straight knockouts. I think Jenkins makes it 4, rolls to a TKO victory in this one.
Yeah, Zach, I couldn't agree more. I think when you look at Herbert Burns' fight, I think it's pretty clear that after the first round and maybe halfway through the second, he sort of either gasses out or gives up. And I also think that one of the only reasons he's in the UFC is because his brother is Gilbert Burns.
It's like Muhammad Usman, in my opinion, too.
Pretty much. And like you said,
I mean, yeah, a little different on how he got in. Yeah, it's a little different on how he got into the UFC as well. But like at this point in his career,
don't get me wrong, great fighter, good fighter, Herbert Burns. He did have a streak going in the beginning of his career, but I think you just see now it's like if he can't get you out of there within a round, he gets killed. And I think Jack Jenkins gives him too many problems to deal with for him to not get finished in the first round. So give me Jack Jenkins, second round, TKO, KO, via leg kicks.
Yeah, the leg kicks. Jenkins loves the leg kicks.
Just chopping away.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I think I've seen Herbert Burns quit too many times in the octagon to ever bet on him, even if he's fighting a complete can. And I'm a big fan of Jack Jenkins. He got hurt, right? He was hurt with something bad.
Yeah, he hurt his arm in September.
Yeah, he's fighting Chepe Mariscal, and he went for a wizard to defend a takedown and just destroyed his whatever arm it was. I don't know which one, but
yeah, I also like this guy. He I don't know if you guys remember, but he was in an interview after one of his fights. He was like, some dude on YouTube like DM'd me and was like, my opponent does this, so when he does this, like try this, and he did it and he ended up winning the fight because of it. So, you always got to respect the guys who keep in touch with the UFC fans,
Yeah, so, fuck yeah. Maybe I'll rip a DM to Jenkins and see if I can get a response.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Let's hey Jenkins, if you're listening, hop on the pod, brother.
Please, please.
We'd be pumped.
I'm going to take him by win. I don't know if he gets it done just because I feel like Burns is going to be very conservative and try to shoot and not really do much. So I'm going to take it by decision, but I think he gets it done.
Yeah, Jenkins is not much of a grappler, and Burns does have 8 career submission wins. And Burns also has a pretty significant reach advantage. We touched on Jenkins' arm injury. So his first fight in 11 months, while Burns has been more active. He fought back in March. Despite all of that, the fact that Burns just seems to give up after a round, or he just doesn't have the cardio, I can't put my money on him. I can't trust him at all. So with a -650 favorite in Jenkins, I think he puts on a show in the striking department and gets it done. I think he's going to finish him in the second or third round. I'm going to put if I was going to choose, I go third round, but I think Jenkins gets it done via TKO. I just can't trust Herbert Burns, man. And it might be the end of his career in the UFC after this fight.
Yeah, dude, just circling back to how Burns fights too. Like, I know how we were talking about like how the other dude was a plumber before and his side thing was the UFC. Like, I wonder what Herbert Burns like does on the side to make it seem like he just doesn't care that much in the octagon. Like what does he have going on? Like, I don't know. He can move on.
I don't know. He better find something else because I don't think his time in the UFC is going to be much longer. Casey O'Neill. Luke, I know you're excited for this fight. +140 versus Lana Santos at -170 in the women's flyweight division. O'Neill is 4-2. However, on a 2-fight losing streak, Santos is 3-0 with wins via sub, decision, and knockout. And it was actually the only knockout that Santos has had in her professional career. So I feel like this one might go the distance. I don't know. Just a hunch I have. Luke, I know who you're riding with. Zach, who are you riding with?
Give me Casey O'Neill via decision, maybe a split. O'Neill's volume is what sold it for me. She throws a lot. And I just think at the end of the day, when they're showing the scorecards next to each other, she'll just hold a pretty significant advantage in the significant strike category, especially if she's able to negate the grappling of Santos, which I think she'll be able to do enough. Like Santos should be going in there, you'd think, and going in there looking to grapple, push for those like grappling situations. But we've talked about this on this podcast before too, and like some of those chicks should hold the grappling advantage and go in there and don't grapple. And if she's not able to, like O'Neill will outstrike her on her way to a win. And I believe she's the underdog in this one too. So I'll take the plus
O'Neill's
money.
plus 140.
Yeah, I'll take the plus money in this one with the chick who I think will just throw more volume.
Yeah, as an underdog, I do like Casey O'Neill. She is riding a 2-fight loss streak, so like be warned. Hasn't looked good in her last 2. Santos is a pretty highly rated prospect coming out for women's divisions, but I think like in your home country on a 2-fight loss streak, who's going to be hungrier? The one knowing she's going in as a dog, fighting for her own people. Give me Casey O'Neill via finish. I don't know how she gets it done, but at this point, her future in the UFC is on the line, not in the fact that she'll get cut, but say she loses. I think she has to know if she loses, she'll either be a journeywoman for the rest of her career for the UFC after being a highly rated prospect coming in at 9-0. So with that being said, give me Casey O'Neill via finish. I think she needs to put on a statement in this fight, and I think that she's hungry enough to get it done.
Couldn't agree more with everything said. King Casey all the way. I mean, I feel like she's been in the UFC forever, which is obviously not true, but I think just since, I've been a fan and been really into it, she's always been a name in the women's division, which is kind of weird because not like extreme amount of success, but I'm just a fan of her. I really have no other reason other than what you guys said. I think she needs a bounce back win. I think when a opponent's coming in on a winning streak, they have this maybe like an unstable amount of confidence about how they are. And I think Casey O'Neill has been in there, fought some really tough talent in that division. And I just think she walks away with the win here. I think she puts on a show. I don't see her getting submitted. So as long as she can keep up with the feet, I hope and pray that she can outstrike her and get this dub. Decision, definitely, though.
Yeah, I think Casey wins via decision. I think it's 29-28 across the board. I think Santos gets her down in one round and kind of has the control time to steal a round. But O'Neill is a better striker here. She's a hometown fighter. The crowd will be behind her, and I think she'll feed off of that. And I think she has enough moments, enough significant strikes to sway the judges to give her the decision. Give me Casey O'Neill. That's a clean sweep for the underdog in this one. Josh Culibao, minus 170 versus Ricardo Ramos at plus 140 in the featherweight division. Josh is 3-3-1 in the UFC, lost his last 2 via decision. Ramos is 7-5, also on a 2-fight losing streak. However, both of those losses were via the guillotine choke. Both fighters not necessarily in form here, don't have a phenomenal record. They do have a common opponent in here, Charles Jourdain. Josh tied him back in 2020 while Ramos lost back in 2023. Your guys' thoughts on this one? Not a fight that I'm super confident in going either way, but should be an interesting one.
Yeah, this was another tough one to pick. I mean, I think the odds dictate that too. I would assume Ramos will go in there and try to utilize his wrestling. And I mean, Colabo's takedown, he has a career takedown defense of 67%. So I think Ramos should be able to get him to the ground throughout the fight. And with him being the underdog with the grappling advantage, I'm going to lean Ramos here. But I don't think I'm throwing it in any parlays or anything. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, this is, I think, your ideal definition of a Vegas trap. Either way you bet, I don't think you're going to be happy. But that being said, give me Culibao. He's fighting in his home country. This is a pick'em as far as I'm concerned. And I think the momentum of the crowd might give Culibao the edge here.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm with you. I think it's really comes down to hometown here for me. Just like you guys said, like not a lot to go off of here. both guys. I think it's going to be a very even match, and it's going to be fun to watch. But at the same time, it's hard to pick a guy. Definitely not guys that I know too much about. In the same essence, when that happens, I'm just going to ride with the hometown guy. I think there's something about the England cards and the Perth cards and the New Zealand guys, like that's a little extra than anywhere else we really see. I think also because a lot of guys fight out of those areas and there's a lot of pride in MMA in those countries. So I'm going to ride with the hometown guy. Give me Cubano by decision.
Couldn't agree more. I have the Aussie by decision. Ramos being 4-5 over his last 9, and Josh being the hometown guy just really swayed it for me. Not a fight, like I said, I'm super confident in. Probably will stay away from it in my parlays, but yeah, I'm just going to take the Aussie. That's all it is. Junior Tafa, -130 versus Walter Walker, the Russian, at +110 in the heavyweight division. Hopefully, we don't see a snooze fest here in the heavyweights. Stand and bang a little bit. Tafa's 1-2 in the UFC with a win over Parker Porter via brutal knockout. Walker's 0-1. However, he was 11-0 in his professional career before joining the UFC. This is close to a pick'em, guys. Your thoughts, Zach? Who you going with?
Oh, I'm going to start with, unfortunately for you, I do anticipate a snooze fest in this one. I'm not very high on Junior Tafa, to be honest. He doesn't really throw much volume. He's not going to wrestle, so I don't really know what he's going to do. I just see more routes to victory for Walker here. And again, like I said, I'm not really expecting an exciting fight, but I do think Walker will be able to get him down to the ground, squeeze out some rounds there. That just with not too much stuff happening, the control time will be a factor. And I'm taking Walker. It's actually the third straight underdog I'm riding with, which is probably not seen for me before, to be honest.
Yeah, that might be a record.
Yeah, I usually don't sway to the underdogs too often, but that's 3 in a row for this guy.
I have to disagree with you, Zach. I'm taking Junior Tafa by TKO. Something about the Tafa brothers always gets me excited when I see them fight, and I think Junior Tafa's last performance, he took that on extremely short notice, so you never got to see him in his full form. And I think it's a case where it's like both these guys, they fight and one of them either dies. You know what I mean? It's like one of them's going to die in this fight, and I think that Tafa's going to get it done.
I'm right with you, Rye. That last fight he stepped in for his brother on short notice looked terrible, but I think it's one of those where you're not in fight camp and you're just there to support your brother, and they're like, "Oh, you can't go. Do you want to fight?"
And he's just like, "Yes."
And he says, "Yes, you're going to do it," and he looked terrible. But other than that, I'm a fan of the Tafa guys, both the brothers. I just like, their vibes, really. They fight out of City Kickboxing, right? Is that true?
I don't.
You're looking up. Tapology right here.
Beautiful.
Fact check. Given his geographic location, it makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't say. It says fighting out of Queensland, Australia. Might be, but I think that, they get those guys ready for fights. Obviously, got a bunch of them on this card. If this is true, what I'm saying, I'm just going to ride with Junior Tafa. Like you guys said, kind of a pick 'em. It's kind of hard to gauge, too, with his inactivity since that last step in fight, but I'm just going to ride with him. Definitely not a parlay piece, but part of that 12-leg parlay.
One thing I forgot to mention is just given the way his Tava's last fight ended, I mean, I don't know how much he's worked on it, if that was just from not being in camp, but if Walker just decides to spam leg kicks, Tafa might be in a rough night, because I think he fought some De Lama, another Brazilian. But and that's what won him the fight, is he just threw leg kicks for 6.5 minutes. Tafa wasn't able to stand on his legs, and that's how he ended up getting like his TKO win or TKO loss.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like I said, I don't fight, so I have no idea if that's just like conditioning that you get throughout camp to deal with leg kicks, or if that's just something that he's susceptible to as a fighter. So if Walker watched that fight and just starts spamming leg kicks, it might be a rough night for Tafa.
Yeah.
I'm looking up where Junior Tafa trains at, and I have an article that's saying that he's associated with the Team Tafa gang fight team. So maybe he has his own team. I'm not really too sure what the deal is there. But maybe those Tafas just fucking roll out their own team and fucking try to get stuff done. Who knows?
I take it back. Take the underdog.
Microsoft Bing's AI, don't know what it's called, says, Junior Tafa. Tafa fights out of City Kickboxing in Auckland, New
It's
Zealand.
maybe it's City Kickboxing.
Never mind, Tafa.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Maybe this random article I found smoking something.
Yeah, he fights out of
dude.
mom's basement or an established team. It's
I feel like this information should not be too hard to find, but here we are.
Well, a quick ad for Microsoft Bing's AI platform.
There you go. Sponsor us, Microsoft. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Walker on this one. What got it for me was the 9-inch reach advantage, which is pretty significant. I think he's more experienced. I think he's slightly more polished. I don't think there's going to be a finish in this fight, so I went with Walker via decision. Li Jingliang plus 230 versus Carlos Prates at minus 280 in the welterweight division. Li is 11-6, coming off a loss to Daniel Rodriguez via split decision. Has also lost to Jake Matthews, Neil Magny, and Kazmat Chimaev in his recent bouts. Prates is 3-0, all wins via knockout with 2 performance bonuses. So an exciting fighter. Zach, are you riding with Carlos in the exciting fight style that he has? Does he get it done via knockout, which he has had 8 straight knockout wins and has not lost in 5 years?
Yeah, this is definitely a big step up in competition for Carlos Paredes here. But I do love how active he's been. This is going to be his 3rd fight this year already. And he does have that like star potential, just given his finishing abilities. He's very fun to watch. And also like holding a 6.5 reach advantage. I'm curious to see how Lee tries to, find his range, but he's a long-time vet. So I don't know how much difficulties that range will give him, but I'm going to side with the youth here. But I don't see how, like, I don't know how he gets it done. You'd say like, oh, he has 8 straight KO wins. I don't know. Lee doesn't really get knocked out too often. So does he find a knockout? I don't know. But I do have Paredes getting the job done here.
Gotta disagree with you here, Zach. And this pick's coming straight from the heart.
Yeah, I figured.
Give me the leech. I've never seen a fight. Actually, I have. But before, actually, no, I haven't. I haven't seen a fighter get just cursed more than Li Jingliang. I will never forget watching the Embedded series when it was supposed to be Hamzat versus Diaz. There's this segment where Li Jingliang, they show him, he buys like this really fancy suit and he's smiling ear to ear. He's all happy. He's like, wear this suit to the press conference. You know what I mean? He's not speaking English, speaking Chinese. And then it cuts, the press conference doesn't happen because Hamzat gets into an altercation with Kevin Holland, I believe it was at the time, and then misses weight by 8 pounds, which forces Li Jingliang to fight 15 pounds above his weight class. So walking in at a massive weight disadvantage into a fight against Christian Rodriguez, where he gets robbed out of a split decision. I mean, I fully believe that's a robbery. I'll stand by that to this day. And then his long layoff, he comes off, he breaks his back in training camp, has to take a year off. And I just think that veteran experience, Carlos Prates hasn't fought a guy on Li Jingliang's caliber, and that hungriness coming back just to prove himself again. Give me the leech all day here. I love him as a dog.
I am totally with you, Ryan. You just convinced me. I was up in the air going into
Wow.
this pick.
Wow. Ryan, the salesman.
I think when you do have that much knockouts, it is pretty impressive, and you're fighting so much, and also haven't lost in 5 years. That's always impressive. But I will say I thought he got robbed against Daniel Rodriguez. I remember that interview. I remember on MMA UFC, like Twitter /X /Instagram, all the reels were like so sad about him, and you just totally brought that back up to me. Why not? Let's take the underdog here.
Yeah, one other thing to note is like I
Let's go.
said before, he fought at such a big weight disadvantage in that fight. And I think, as what Zach mentioned earlier before picking Prates, I think experience comes down to it. I don't think Prates gets a knockout win in this one. I see it going the distance. And I think like veteranship sees Li Jingliang, who's been there a lot more, maybe just like after the first round, just outpointing him for those last 2, and just stealing those rounds away with some bigger moments.
Yeah, I'm excited, or I'm a little like curious to see how Paredes will look if this fight does go, a few rounds, because he has had like a few early knockout finishes. So if it gets to the 3rd round, I mean, we'll really see the guy get tested and see like what he's made of, because a lot of times you have no idea what these prospects are going to be like until you see them really get tested in there. So this should be a very big test for him to see like what level he's really on.
Yeah, I also will say Prado does have Muay Thai tattooed across his chest, which is, you have to be pretty dedicated to the whole
To the
thing.
craft.
I think Poatan has kickboxing tattoo somewhere on his stomach. So that was kind of swaying it for me completely. This whole fight has been completely picked on like personal things.
I'm gonna go with Paredes here. He's taller, has a 6-inch reach advantage, is 5 years younger. And Ryan, that was a really cute speech you gave earlier. I don't care, dude. Paredes is gonna knock him out. Brady's gonna knock him out in the first round, dude. That was a really good speech, but I'm sorry. I'm going with Paredes.
Fuck off.
Tai Tuivasa plus 170 versus, I don't know how to pronounce Rozenstruik's first name, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. So Rozenstruik at say that again, Ryan. Jairzinho Rozenstruik at -200 in the heavyweight division. Tai is 8-7 in the UFC. Started the career with a 3-fight winning streak, then lost 3 in a row, then won 5 in a row, including a win over Derek Lewis, which really that's when he did the shoey and he kind of blew up his name a little bit. But has now since lost 4 in a row. So a very streaky fighter. Those 4 losses though to serious competition: Cyril Gane, Sergey Volkov, and Marcin Tybura. Rozenstruik is 8-5. Has won 2 of his last 5. So both guys really not in great form right here. Those 3 losses were to Curtis Blades, Volkov, and Almeida. So some serious competition as well, with wins over Chris Dawkins and Shamil Gaziev. Rozenstruik is 36 years old. Tuivasa's all getting up there, but he is the hometown guy here. Do you guys smell an upset with Tai Tuivasa?
I mean, man, it's been a while since we've seen a shoey. I mean, when was his last win? Do you have anyone have like a date on that?
He's lost 4 in a row. It had to be like 2021, I think.
We were still in college. It was when he fought Derek Lewis.
February 12th, 2022.
I mean, dude, it'd be pretty damn cool to see him rip a shoey in front of the home crowd and just seeing how electric they get. Right? And as much as I'd like to see it happen, I don't know. I like Rozenstruik in this one, just with the bigger frame, longer reach. He won't have to worry about any grappling coming from Tuivasa. I mean, I think someone's going to sleep in this one, and I think Rozenstruik will find something to finish Tuivasa. But, I mean, this should be a fun one. I'm excited for this fight.
I disagree, Zach. I think the UFC is due for a good shoey. And
I'd be excited. I'd be happy, man. I'm rooting for the shoey.
I think like I see a pattern here of Tai Tuivasa where you said 3 wins, 3 losses, 5 wins, 4 losses.
Yep.
I'd like to see that streak come back in this one. Give the people what they want. Tai Tuivasa, first or second round KO. And then I'm staring at my TV screaming drunk on Saturday. But as he does a shoey. Maybe I will do one myself.
Yeah, dude.
Honestly, I might just bet on Tai. So if he wins, I can rip a shoey and get pumped up about it. So you might have swayed me there.
We all get on FaceTime and do a shoey, and then we post it.
I'll be down. I'm going to Tuivasa here. I think.
Yes.
Just like you guys said, this like just brings back straight up Derek Lewis vibes in that fight. I think if he could, stay awake, which he's kind of like struggled to do. He's been getting the shit kicked out of him recent fights. But I think if he stays in there, definitely if he gets past the first, I feel better about him winning as well. I don't know if the fight gets past the first, but I think what you guys said, I think when you take a guy who's so like, I don't know, has such national pride in where he's from, I think it adds an aspect. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I got Tuivasa. So the crowd's going to be going fucking crazy when he walks out. I'm riding it. Let's go knockout Tuivasa.
Hell yeah, dude. If Tai gets it done, it's going to be via knockout. And I think he gets it done. No reason other than I just hope that we get to see him do a shoey in Australia. That's it for me. That's what sold it for me. I'm not a big fan of either guy's game in totality here. I don't think the odds should be this in favor of Rozenstruik. So give me the hometown dude. I want to see a fucking shoey. That's why I'm going with Tai. All right. Mateusz Gamrot -275 versus Dan Hooker +225. This is an awesome fight. In the lightweight division, Gamrot 7-2, 3 straight wins over Rafael Dos Anjos, Rafael Fiziev, and Jalen Turner. And that was after a loss to Beneil Dariush, which is no slouch. Also beat Arman Sarukian in 2022. So some legit wins for Gamrot. Hooker's 13-8, back-to-back wins over Jalen Turner and Claudios Puelles after losses to Arnold Allen and Islam Makhachev. Has also lost to Poirier and Chandler since 2020, so enough of that Chandler slander over there. Luke?
Was the only one. He was like a minus 600 favorite.
Yeah,
let's not forget poor Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Don't forget about the corpse of Tony. The corpse of Tony Ferguson, bro.
Also, this could have beat Justin Gaethje if he wasn't a fucking idiot.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
Well,
maybe Dustin Poirier
in the world.
and Dustin Poirier too, but whatever. We don't have to get into Michael Chandler yet, guys. Is anyone going with Dan Hooker? I love Dan Hooker, but I just don't see him getting it done in this one.
I love him too.
I love Dan Hooker, but I don't see him getting it done either. But I will want to say something. How about poor Jalen Turner losing a split to both of these guys? And I thought that the Hooker fight really could have gone his way. I thought he won the Hooker fight, Jalen Turner, but whatever. I'm not going to go back to that one. But, I mean, this should be a really fun one. I'm excited to see Dan Hooker fight. He's always exciting when he's in the octagon. You'd think he'd hold the advantage on the feet here. He should hold the advantage on the feet here, but I just think Gamrot is too well-rounded. And I think he'll just be able to squeeze out rounds with his wrestling, and it's probably, you'd say, the second best wrestler in that division. And I think, I just think he'll be able to control Hooker enough where he'll be able to rack up 2 rounds and pull out a decision.
Yeah, and Zach, I know. I agree with you. And the only thing I disagree with is I genuinely, you see the name, Dan Hooker, and you think, this is going to be a banger of a fight. When he's fighting a guy like Gamrot, I see this being pretty boring just because Gamrot holds that massive advantage in the wrestling department.
He'd probably hold back some of his strikes, just scared about the wrestling.
Exactly. I think Hooker's going to come in maybe a little bit timid. And then if that's the case and he's not just throwing for the kill right away, I could see him just getting controlled for, 3 straight rounds, 8 minutes 8 minutes control time, a little bit here and there on the feet, but not too exciting of a fight where Gamrot just sneaks out like a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I agree 100% what you just said there, Ryan, where this fight very easily could just fall into Gamrot's style of fight, which just will not bode well for Hooker. It just won't.
Yeah, with all that being said, though, they are fighting in Perth. Who's more city kickboxing than Dan Hooker?
Good point.
No, this is. I think Ryan hit the nail on the head. It's going to be a boring ass fight. Gamrot he's really good at one thing, and that thing people don't really have an answer to, and that's wrestling and pushing the pace. Any 3-round fight, I'm gonna most likely favor him in. Against he's at that point where now I think he's 5 right now. Everyone above him is pretty good wrestlers. I don't know what the standings are like, but maybe you won't count like a DP as a great wrestler because he's not, but everyone else is pretty good wrestlers. So I think the game changes once he wins this fight for him. But yeah, anytime, obviously it's every round starts on his feet. The only way to victory, Dan Hooker's got to catch him. Gamrot's been in there with some dogs and they haven't caught him. So I'm riding Gamrot. I think this goes the distance. I don't see him submitting him. I think Dan Hooker puts on a little flurry at the end of the 3rd, but that's about it. I think we clean sweep 30-27 unanimous decision.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Hooker's a really exciting fighter. He's got the knockout ability. I just don't see him winning via decision. I think his only path is a knockout, but Gamrot I just think is too well-rounded. I think he knows how he's going to win this fight. He's fought some legitimate competition recently. He's on a good fight win streak. I think he's in better form. I think he's more well-rounded. I think he gets it done via decision. And it's one of those things that if you're going to bet on Hooker here, you're just hoping for a knockout. And I just know it's happened to me way too much where the grappler gets him down with 3 minutes left and you're just like, all right, just survive the round. And it's just not fun to watch, So I'm hoping we see a little bit more action here, but ultimately if I'm going to take Gamrot in my parlays, I don't give a shit. I think Gamrot grapples him and gets the win via decision.
Yeah, my advice is stay away from Dan Hooker unless you have that full Australian parlay going.
Yeah. Do you guys think if Gamrot wins this fight, what is next for him? How far away is he from that title shot? Because you'd assume they probably want some new blood up there. Is Gamrot in the question if he wins this fight?
Charles.
It's hard to say.
Give him
Yeah,
Charles.
It's hard to say. Right? You would think even I guess depending on the winner of Saruki and Islam. Yeah, Charles. No, Luke's right. You
can give
make
him
that
Charles, 'cause I know-
either an interim title defense if Islam wins to Sarukian and decides to move up to welterweight to give that a shot, or if Sarukian wins, you just give him you do the same thing. And those are the
Yeah,
two
I mean,
guys.
he beat Sarukian back in like 2 years ago. But also, I'm seeing stuff with Islam where it's like he might take the rest of the year off with the injury. He doesn't know the extent of it yet. I forget what the injury is, but they were talking. Actually, I don't know if he I think it might have been Sarukian was talking like him versus Charles for an interim, or someone said it. If Islam's actually going to sit out for the rest of the year and be inactive.
See, I hate that. I hate that mindset from Sarukian just because I feel like he's earned it. I don't think anyone disagrees that he's earned that title shot, and I think it's best for him to sit out, especially when that Abu Dhabi card's already been booked for Holloway Taporia. But you don't need any more star power on that card. You might as well sit and wait for maybe the January card, maybe the February card.
Yeah, sometime before Ramadan to get that fight in. Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Does make sense. All right, guys. Kai Kara France plus 195. I'm not a fan of KKF just because of what he did to Cody Garbrandt. Versus Steve Erceg at minus 240 in the flyweight division. Ryan, this is your boy, Steve Erceg. KKF is 7-4 back-to-back losses versus Albazi and Brandon Moreno in a title fight back in 2022. Has not fought in 14 months, so a decent layoff for Kara France, while Erceg is 3-1 in the UFC, coming off that loss via decision to Alexander Pantoja by unanimous decision back in May, which, it's not a bad loss. He looked pretty good in that fight, just didn't get the decision. Ryan, I know what you're going with. Zach, are you also going with Ryan and taking Steve Erceg at minus 240?
Yeah, I'm riding with Erceg on this one. I know the fans probably can't be too happy with the matchmakers here. Like, who are they pulling for? Probably Kai, just because he's been around longer. Like, I don't know. The fans probably can't be too happy with this one. But Erceg turned me a fan after his last fight against Pantoja. Although me and my bank account are both very happy that Pantoja got the nod in that split, but Erceg definitely made a fan out of me in that one. And he's just such a well-rounded fighter. And, I think the matchmaking in this one's, a little strange because you think, you just lost a split decision in a title fight, but he was so low in the rankings that I guess, Kai coming off a loss gets this fight and kind of like a title eliminator in a way because if Erceg wins, he's probably right back into getting a title shot, you think, right? But I don't know. It's like an interesting situation going on there. But I see Kai kind of on that level of, I don't see him ever getting the strap where I see Erceg as a legit championship fighter. So that kind of led me over the edge here, and I'm going with Erceg.
Yeah, no, Chong, you're right. I am going with Erceg. But I will say this. Kai Kara France's last fight was against Amir Albazi. It's another one I said this earlier, but that one was a pure robbery. I beg anyone to watch his last fight back with Amir Albazi and tell me that Kai Kara France did not get robbed. I like Kai Kara France. I like them both. At the end of the day, I think Steve Erceg is just a lot more technical, a lot more capable on the feet than Kai Kara France is, but Kai Kara France does have great takedown defense. So even if Steve Erceg decides to shoot and try to take this fight to the ground, I see Kai stuffing all of it, but he does hold that advantage on the feet, which I think will be in favor of Steve Erceg. I have Steve Erceg winning this by a 29-28 UD decision.
Yeah, I have Erceg completely dominating Kai Kara France. I think Kai Kara France is not that good. I think a lot of people don't like him, and kind of because he talks a big game and does the thing, and everyone obviously it's their heritage and shit, but people think it's weird. I don't really think it's weird, but I see his personality I'm not a huge fan of. On the other hand, Steve Erceg, I don't know how you can't like the guy. He's so humble. And he's good all around. I don't know why they didn't just do Pantoja Erceg too. That fight came down to the wire, really came down to an Erceg shot, which Pantoja reversed and ended up getting the control in the fifth. And obviously you got to beat the champ. But Erceg's a beast. I don't have him losing to any other flyweights other than Pantoja. I think we're kind of at the Figueiredo Moreno level again, where it's just two guys at the top and no one else is really close.
You see, that's where I disagree, Luke, just because this is another reason why I hate this fight. I forgot to bring it up earlier. It's regardless of who wins, it's where do you go in the flyweight division after this? Just because you have Steve Erceg, who just fought for the belt, made it a very close fight. He wins. He's either fighting for the title again or he's just outside of title contention. Now that you have Tatsuro Taira, who's ranked number 5, and when Steve Erceg fought for the belt, he was ranked number 10. You know what I mean? So it comes down to, and Kai Kara-France is ranked above Steve Erceg in this one. So you would have think like the natural progression of Steve Erceg's run to the title would have been whoever he fought, and then maybe either Tatsuro Taira or Kai Kara-France, and he was ranked number 3 or number 4 at the time, and then fight for the belt. Now you kind of throw it up in the air as to, regardless of who wins, who gets the next title shot. Because say Kai Kara-France wins, he just beat the guy that brought Pantoja to a very close decision for the belt, for a title belt. Or you have Steve Erceg, who once again is just knocking shit at that door while simultaneously having Tatsuro Taira, who's building his name up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, right? I saw like the matchmaking was very weird in this one because, again, you think about like what Erceg just did in his last fight against Pantoja, where if he bounces back with a win, you'd think he gets that title shot again. And I'm almost more inclined to say off of a win, Erceg gets it more than Kai Kara-France gets it off a win, even though Kai Kara-France is ranked higher. It's just a very like weird situation there. But yeah, I mean, and then you have Tatsuro Taira on there as well. So I don't really know where they go.
And even the note, it's like Brandon Royval just beat Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, but they both lost multiple times.
They both lost them. So it's just like, does Pantoja sit on the side while one of those guys fights Royval for a title contender fight? Like,
it's interesting.
So. I think because of how dominant Pantoja has been, it gives him the ability to call shots, and I think that's why we saw the Erceg fight. He looked down the rankings and said, "I beat all these guys, or clearly beat guys that beat these guys." And I think with forget his name, the Thai guy. What's the guy?
Tatsuro Taira.
He's a beast, but he's like where Erceg was maybe one fight before he fought for the title. He's still, I know that he's higher in the rankings, but I think best case scenario, Erceg wins. They run that back and they give Kai Kara-France against Tatsuro Taira, or that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, that can make a lot of sense.
The only thing that could really put a halt to the division is if Erceg beats Pantoja after this fight, then you have to do a third. There's no you have to do a third. And that's kind of where we were with Figueiredo and Moreno. I think the division is stacked. Like, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of good guys in the top 8. I think Pantoja is just that good. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, he just does enough to win. I don't know. He's so technically sound. Erceg is so good. And he still found a way to beat him. I think he dominates Kai Kara-France. I don't even want to see that fight. Tatsuro Taira, I would like to see that fight, but I agree. I think he needs at least one more win against a guy in the top 3, top 4. So
then I guess, because that's the other thing I was bringing up is Amir Albazi's ranked number 3 in the flyweight division after beating Kai Kara-France, and he's been.
So that's the thing. You can't give Kai Kara-France a title shot with Albazi there, even though you're saying it's a robbery, but just still looking at it on paper, it's just very tough to give him a shot after losing that fight. You know, so it's like, it wouldn't probably be the best. Yeah.
It's purely based off of inactivity. I mean, Albazi is great, or as I say, he's great. I'm sorry, the names in this division are freaking terrible. But he's great, but also like he hasn't fought since that Kai fight, right? So like it's a pretty decent layoff.
Yeah, both of them. Both of them fought. So,
and I don't know if he has one booked, does he?
Maybe Brandon Royval. I might have saw that somewhere. I don't know if that's 100% true, but maybe he's fighting Brandon Royval. And if Amir Albazi beats Brandon Royval, if that fight's actually happening, then he's getting the title shot. Yeah,
I agree with that 100%. I think there's a lot of, pieces that have to fall into place right now. I think it's an interesting division. I think the most interesting fight is Erceg Pantoja too. And that's
according to Tapology, there's no upcoming fight for Amir Albazi. He had something scheduled with Moreno for back in February, but that fell through. So Tapology has nothing coming up for like upcoming bouts for Albazi. So
which is crazy.
I mean, Pantoja's sideline. Erceg's fighting again already. Like Pantoja's not really a guy who takes a year off. I'm sure he wants to get in there. He's on the older side. So we'll see. He's also flirted with jumping up and fighting bantamweight, which I don't see why he couldn't. he has that little bit of beef with O'Malley, and also claiming that he would. I think him and fucking Merab would be a great fight. So
yeah, maybe they're targeting like this title fight for somewhere like in December potentially. They could throw in they could throw this in based off of what happens in this fight, and if Erceg wins, if he's ready to go again by December, that could be a possibility.
yeah, might be co-main too for the November card if John Jones happens, which it's always normally two title fights. So
it's weird, right? Because you're in that standstill now where it's just also you expect. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like I expect to see Pereira fight one more time by the end of the year, which is either in that MSG November card or in December. So who knows what the hell they have planned.
Yeah, that's true. They can throw Pantoja in as a co-main though. It's not like it's a big draw regardless. The division's not a big draw. So like throwing it as a co-main would be, makes any card very sick and I'd be excited.
100%, bro. You throw a championship fight as the co-main, you're loving that.
And I love watching Pantoja fight too. So like I'd be amped.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move on to the main event for the middleweight strap. Dricus Du Plessis at plus 115. With the return of Israel Adesanya, minus 135. DDP is 7-0 in the UFC. Beat Strickland via that split decision, controversial to win the belt after knocking out Derek Brunson and Robert Whittaker. Izzy is 13-3, his 12th straight title fight, which is crazy to think about. Coming off that loss via UD, which he looked really bad against Strickland almost a year ago. And that was after he got his revenge versus Alex Pereira. Do you guys believe in the return of the last style bender in this one?
Yeah, I've been on Izzy the whole entire time since this fight's got announced, but now I'm getting a little nervous. Like, I just don't really want to see like our generation of legends die out because they kind of have been recently. And
100%, dude.
I saw the same post. I just don't want to see it happen. But then I remember that contender Izzy has never lost a fight at middleweight. And he's not going to lose to some guy who Mando Gutierrez compared to a blind squirrel. Come on. And like at the end of the day, like I do think Dricus' style will pose some threats, and he's just so awkward. Where it's like, who do you pull in to spar against that can replicate such an awkward style like Dricus? Like that probably can't be the easiest thing to do. But yet again, Izzy is one of the best strikers we have ever seen inside of an octagon. And just fuck it. Give me style bender via KO.
Dude, he makes it so hard. I've had Izzy all fight week. Then I go on Twitter. I have a
weird feeling in my gut.
Then I go on Twitter and Izzy posts him at the weigh-ins and Dricus at the weigh-ins with circles around both their fucking cock bulges.
Yeah, he did that. Who's the real African?
It's just like, God damn it, you make it so hard for me to root for you.
Did you see like not too long ago on Twitter, he posted like Hitler on Twitter, dude. And it was he's Hitler dancing. Like I was like, what the hell is this guy posting? He's a weird fucking dude on Twitter, man.
No, he's diabolical. And it's just like he makes it like I have Izzy winning this. I think the last style bender comes through, maybe KO, maybe decision. I think that with Strickland's fighting style, he makes it a very, like, obviously that one against Izzy was dominant, but the way, like, Dricus fights where he blitzes in, Izzy's a very good counterpuncher, and I think he just outpoints Dricus throughout that entire fight. Where he runs him with those blitzes, Izzy steps in, steps back, throws a 1-2, maybe a 3-piece combination, and just makes it look better for the judges. And it's either that where he outpoints him or he clips him and just puts him away. I think that fighting style compared to Strickland's where it's just strict boxing in a Philly shell, throwing the jab, the teep over and over again, where he's used to counter punching and just outpointing guys on the scorecards, favors him immensely in this fight. But like I fucking said, dude, he makes it so hard for me to pick him in anything because he's a cornball.
He's a corny fuck, dude, but god damn it, he can fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in the same boat with you, Zach, with being in between. For me, when you give Izzy time off, like between the first Alex fight and the second Alex fight, you could tell that he is such a technician and he's so good at preparing for fights. And I give credit to City Kickboxing and their coach Eugene, like they do such a good job of prepping their fighters for fights. I think that's why we see such good game plans. I mean, against Whitaker, the perfect, the rush, and he's gonna, hit him with a stepping back counter, and I think that's awesome. And I don't know if you guys saw Darren Till kind of give Izzy like 5 tweets of saying like, this is how you beat him. This is what he did against me. You just have to do it better, and you're better at it than me. And it's basically the same things you guys have been talking about. DDP is a rusher. He's going to rush. He's going to look to create havoc and, capitalize in those spaces that he creates. Izzy has never fought in a guy like that and lost. He beats everyone like that. The only guys he loses to are guys that do the same thing that he does and stand up, and the Philly shell with the boxing with Sean Strickland, and then Alex. Like, they're very similar styles, obviously different kickboxing and boxing. And then him and Alex are the same thing. Just, that fight is, you can't really describe that in any aspect, their little rivalry. But I think for me, if DDP goes out there and like bullies Izzy, that's the only path to victory. I don't see him finishing Izzy. He's not going to knock him out. Izzy doesn't really get knocked out. Even in the Alex fight, he wasn't out. I just think this is what we're going to see. We're going to see a master at work, a legend at work, a future Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. He's going to come back, and I think he's going to piece him up. I do think it's going to go to decision, but I think we're going to have a very, very bloody DDP after this fight, and Izzy's going to look clean, and they're going to wrap the belt around him, and then he's going to say, I want to go up and fight Alex again.
Yeah, Luke,
you just gave me the chills. You just got me fucking pumped up right now.
Let's go, baby.
I'm up right now. Come on, Izzy.
I'm getting messages on work on this screen. I'm like all over the place. But I've been waiting to talk about this fight, man. I haven't watched the Embedded yet. I haven't had time this week. I'll get to that probably Friday night. But I know you guys know Izzy. Like, he lives and breathes this shit. It's not like, oh, he's done, he's lost, he's like looking at retirement. He lost and then went and trained his ass off. I saw pictures. He looks bigger. In the interview with DC, he looks more focused. Like, everything is lining up. And I don't think there's anything DDP brings to the table that Izzy hasn't seen before and that Izzy can't prepare for. Like, it's different when Strickland rocked him in the first or second, and he was like, oh my God, like, how do I break this guy's like defense? He was doing everything perfect. This isn't that. I think this is, and Izzy has a hatred for him. Like, he's fired up, man. And in his own country, checks all the boxes.
No, Luke,
he's coming for heads too.
I agree with you, especially with the part you said about Izzy's game planning for fights, especially when he's had taken a long time off. You saw it in the second Alex Pereira fight where, after he knocked him out, that training footage got released where Izzy was just backed up against like the wall in his gym and just throwing that shot over and over again because he realized like that's what lost him the first fight is once Pereira got him to the cage, he got ultra aggressive and Izzy just game planned for it. And I know that with his hatred for DDP, he's most likely been studying film nonstop, reading movements, getting tells. And I think that's going to benefit him a lot more going into this.
Yeah, I'm also rocking with Izzy, boys. I like what you said, Luke, about his hatred for DDP. He can't stand him. I think it's going to fuel him in this fight. I think the time off is going to help Izzy. And you mentioned he looks bigger. Like Dan Hooker said, he's always been active as the champion, always defending his belt. So he didn't have really time to bulk up. He's constantly in camp. And he also said that Izzy hasn't fought completely healthy in like 5 years, which is crazy. He said there were times where Izzy couldn't lift his arm over his shoulder a week before a championship fight. So he's fresh. He's ready to go. He's bulked up a little bit. He's built on his frame. He's got more muscle. I think mentally he's locked in. I don't think DDP is going to be able to take him down. He's got 77% takedown defense. And we saw Jan Blachowicz bring him down, but that's when Izzy was fighting at 195 and Jan was after weigh-ins, probably up to 215, 220. Like, other than that, we don't really see guys get Izzy down and win fights that way. I think he's a better striker. I think DDP is legit, but Adesanya is one of the GOATs of this division. He can cement himself as the GOAT if he wins this one. Maybe he defends it once or twice and goes and beats Alex at 205. That'd be fucking sweet. We all want to see that shit. I'm riding with Izzy hard in this one, bro. Hard. I love Adesanya. He gets it done.
I do have a question, though. So, I think it was yesterday, Dana White said that the winner of DDP versus Izzy is fighting Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, say Izzy gets his hand raised. Do you think in that second fight, in that rematch fight, if Dana sticks to his word and he doesn't go up and fight Alex Pereira, obviously, does Strickland still get it done?
I don't
No,
think
I think
he
Izzy
can
gets
fight
it done.
Alex after this fight. Because think about
I-
it. Strickland lost that fucking decision to DDP, which was like so
Well, he's-
controversial, and he just beat Adesanya. So he has to fight Strickland after this before going to fight Alex, I think. I think if Izzy wins, he's got to beat Strickland, and then it's like, okay, you beat everybody. Go make the mega fight at 205 with Alex. And you have to give Izzy time to bulk up, I think, for that. But that's what I think happens. It's got to be Strickland after this, no matter what.
You're right.
Whoever
Yeah,
wins.
I think Izzy gets a job done against Strickland. I just don't know if that Alex fight happens. Like, I don't know if Izzy will be like, I want to go up to 205 and fight Alex, a guy who's naturally like above that weight, where Izzy will have to bulk to maybe be able to be somewhat comparable just for the weigh-ins. And then after the weigh-ins, Alex puts on another 20, 25 pounds, and then he's just way bigger anyways. Like, I just don't know if Izzy will want to go up and have that trilogy at light heavyweight. I just don't think it makes like the most sense for him, even though as much as like we'd all want to see it and like how big that fight would be, it's just so difficult to go up a weight class and fight that guy, because like that guy was never a middleweight, you know? So
Yeah.
I just think it's just so tough.
Well, Zach, speaking to that point, I think it's like you said, like Pereira was never a middleweight, but I think the only thing that comes into Izzy's advantage here is the fact that Pereira will never take it to the ground. You know what I mean? Like,
except
like
that one
Izzy,
time where he took down Izzy, which is kind of
Yeah.
wild.
yeah, but you know, Izzy
Yeah,
knows
what's he
that
gonna
he's
do with
not. Yeah, he's not going to do anything with it, and he's knocked him out once. You know what I mean? I think in Izzy's mind, it's like, I've knocked him out once. I can stand and bang with this guy. I've
Yeah,
proven it.
definitely. It would just be tough for him, like knowing that Alex doesn't have to drain himself, which is like, again, I'm not gonna say he knocked him out because Alex was drained, because I mean it was just, you know, it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful what Izzy did, you know, up against the cage
Right.
and landing those strikes. I mean, he would have gone to sleep regardless of whether or not he had to cut down, but just knowing that Alex wouldn't have to go through like that fatigue of like that hard of a weight cut,
Right,
it's
but
just
it goes.
like, I don't know if you'd want to do it. I don't know.
But no, but also it also goes to Izzy's advantage too, because he's not going through that weight cut either. You know what I mean? He's weighing in 20 pounds heavier, so he also doesn't have to deplete himself to make weight at 185.
When he fought Jan at 205, did he weigh in at 205?
No.
He was lighter.
No,
He was like
he weighed in a lot lighter.
He's like,
But
yeah,
I-
a lot
like-
lighter, yeah. And he had
but
plenty
now-
of time to prepare for that fight. So like, I don't know if he can put on that much weight. Like, I just don't know if he has like the actual body type to be able to bulk up to that kind of weight to fight at light heavyweight.
Yeah, just to go off of what you guys said, like you're right. I got a little bit in the heat of the moment. It makes absolutely no sense for Izzy to go up and take that fight, and I think their paths have crossed, and they've gone their other ways. Izzy even said in the interview with DC, he was like, "I'm happy for him." Obviously, Alex has said that they have no beef. It's easier to say that when you're 3-1. But I think Izzy's a very good person at like being content where he is in life. I mean, he never has to fight again, obviously. Future Hall of Famer, obviously. Kickboxing Hall of Famer, obviously. But I think just getting that one win was enough for him. I'm fine with letting the guys do their thing. I just, obviously, as a fan, you want to see the mega fights. I think the only way it possibly happens is if Alex cuts down to 185, which we've seen how much of a disadvantage it gives him when he's fighting lighter and, you know, less water in the brain, you know, in the skull, easier to knock out, all that bullshit. They found their places. Let's just let them ride out into the sunset. Let it be.
Yeah. Also, Alex is like, I want to go up to heavyweight, you know, so
Way better
probably
shot
gonna
at
be
him
difficult.
doing that.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Luke, just one more note before we go to our parlays. Your 12-legger is going to be juicy as hell with the amount of underdogs you picked. I think you had
Dude,
like
you're
3 or
fucking
4.
rich.
I think you had like 3 or 4 underdogs. So I'm just thinking like, damn.
One of them being like Li Jingliang at like plus 280. That's gonna be a
Yeah,
fucking
no, it's going to be a
booster, man.
juicy one this weekend.
It's not going to be the underdogs that kill it, though. It never is. It's going to be like fucking some stupid shit like
Tom
high card
Nolan,
fights,
minus
pitching.
1,100.
Yeah. The first
All right.
fight of the night is going to lose, and I'm just going to be on this podcast.
I will say this in terms of betting: if you're the type of person where you take every single guy on a card from that home country, if you take minus Steve Erceg, Kai Kara France, if you take the favorite and Steve Erceg, you're looking at plus 17,667.
Oh my God.
And if you
Because
replace
like a
it
lot of
with-
those Aussies in the middle of the card were like slight underdogs.
Yep. And if you take Kai Kara France as another underdog, you're looking at plus 26,190. So
I have about 15 of those in today for home runs.
Yeah, but you smacked one, so I mean, you're kind of chilling
so
for
I'm
like
set.
at least
I'm set
you're
for
kind
the
of
year.
chilling for like 5 years, like 5
Yeah, it is
seasons of
true.
baseball games after the one you hit. All right, do you
But-
want to craft up a safe
wait,
play parlay?
wait.
I don't even know if we have to do like safe, but we could just craft away.
If you want to listen to my degenerate gambling device, take 2 parlays with all the Aussies and swap Steve Erceg and Kai Kara France in both of them. $10 Aussies pays you $2,600 or $1,700. So a $20 investment goes a long way.
Goes
Yeah,
a long
An
way.
investment.
So an Aussie loses.
Ride the Aussies.
Well, baby.
All right. So we want to we want to craft one parlay. You want to craft
No, let's
two?
do 2.
I'd
I
be
want
fine.
to.
We
need
can
to
do
hit a
2.
safe
I
one,
just
dude.
don't know.
Other than
I have 2 different legs that I really
You got me
like.
fucking ice cold, dude. Like, yeah, all right. If we want to do something, I'd either go. I want to either go Gamrot or Erceg. I don't know. Like,
Pick
I'll
one.
take
You can go
one.
either.
All right. Well, fucking give me Gamrot.
Okay.
I'll let
You want
Ryan.
Gamrot.
I'll let Ryan take her. I'll let Ryan take Erceg if he wants him.
Yeah, Ryan, you going to Erceg here?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Ryan's like, thank you. I'll take Erceg.
I'm
Luke,
gonna
what
go
you got?
Jack Jenkins.
Nice. I'm gonna go Song Kenan. I'm gonna fade the plumber.
All
I
right,
like
fuck,
that.
I actually like that.
I like that. Okay.
Ryan,
let
you
me
got
put
it up.
Song
Kenan,
Kenan. I got
Jack
it up
Jenkins.
as well.
Steve Erceg, and who else?
Jack
Gamrot.
Gamrot, Erceg.
Yeah. Ryan, can you send me just send me a screenshot of that too with the odds in it, and I'll send it to Garrett to make the graphic.
I have plus 265 on that. What do you
Oh,
have,
yeah.
Ryan?
Give me 1 second.
The safe parlay is juicy for this
I'm
one.
surprised it's not. I'm surprised it's not better odds than plus 235 to be honest, with like
Well,
Erceg in there.
The Kenan line has moved. So I put these lines down on Monday. It was 235.
What'd you
Now
get?
he's
What'd you get
minus
Kenan at? I had him
170,
at.
minus 175 right now.
Yeah, I saw him at minus 180, but I'm surprised with like a minus 180. What were Erceg's odds at?
Damn,
I had
Jenkins moved from 650 to 900 though.
Oh, I got
I had
Jenkins at
Jenkins.
770.
Yeah, all right. So what are your odds looking like, Ryan?
Plus 261 on FanDuel.
Perfect.
Okay, you wanna send that over?
Yeah.
Erceg's moved from 240 to 160 in 3 days.
Perfect. Let's go.
That's
That's
crazy.
fucking perfect, dude.
That's a good dude. I like that.
I
one
like
a lot.
that lay in general. I might just like throw my bank account on it, and we can all get happy. You can all get happy come Saturday night.
Yo, I love that, dude. Okay, a long shot, boys. We're gonna hit a long shot. We're just so
What are
shot.
What
I know what I'm
are,
taking, but I feel like everyone's gonna want to take it. But I'm taking it. I'm gonna do it before anyone else can.
You're gonna
Tai
say
Tuivasa via knockouts.
Which, yeah, I wasn't gonna. I maybe What are like Nolan via KO or Jenkins via KO? Is either one of those like better than like minus 200?
You see, the problem with at least with FanDuel is they don't release the
The
all of
finish
those
lines?
those finish lines until like Thursday or Friday.
I
you
have
sure?
him right now.
You
Tuivasa
do?
via knockout is plus 240.
Colin, what about Nolan or Jenkins via knockout? What do those lines look like?
Okay, let's see. Nope, that is not listed. Not listed.
I don't know.
It's undercard.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the prelim fights don't get listed until.
It's
Like
Oh, it is
24
for
hours.
Jenkins. Jenkins via knockout is minus 250.
He chasing
I
it
guess we're
strong
going on a long
on
shot,
there for
right?
me, Tong, by KO. They have
Kenan
that
via
posted.
KO. I like that one. That is not listed.
Yeah,
we might
it's
have
gonna be
to.
tough
We might have
lay.
to.
Yeah,
We might have to touch base tomorrow and get one for Instagram because we're not getting our methods that we need.
It's gonna be tough to like throw together a long shot lay without having all like the finish odds for.
Yeah, dude, that's
lot of
weird because
these
we always
guys, I
record
mean-
on Thursdays and usually they're posted, so it's kind of weird that they're not right now. But yeah, so
I mean,
we'll
I
go.
did pick 3 underdogs to win in a row, but I just don't really want to call that out for this parlay as one of
Yeah,
my
no,
to be honest.
we like own methods. We'll touch base. We'll figure it out. We'll let the people know. But we do have the safe parlay: Song Kenan, Jack Jenkins, Gamrot, and Erceg.
I just want to see what Izzy by KO is. Plus 330.
Ooh, I like that, dude. I think Izzy gets it done via knockout. Not gonna lie.
It's a high round.
I think he
Man.
clips
It's a long
him.
fucking
I
time.
think he clips him. Well, we'll think about it, boys. We'll touch base. If you're listening, we'll have it for you posted on social media. Guys, thanks for tuning in for the UFC 305 prediction pod. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Really excited for this card. Let's win some goddamn money.
Yeah, let's go, fellas.
Hope so.